Jake Morrison stood in the cargo bay of the starship Horizon's Edge, watching the aliens walk around the room. They were huge. Each one was almost 8 feet tall, with 4 arms that moved like a spider's legs. Their skin looked like black armor, shiny and hard. When they walked, their feet made clicking sounds on the metal floor. "They look strong," said Dr. Karen Walsh, standing next to Jake. She was the ship's doctor who studied alien life forms. Her voice was quiet, but Jake could hear the worry in it. "Yeah, they do," Jake said. He was a Marine, trained to fight and teach fighting. He had seen many tough soldiers, but these aliens were different. They were bigger than any human he had ever met. The aliens were called Kalari. They came from a planet far away. For hundreds of years, they had been the strongest fighters in their part of space. No one had ever beaten them in a war. Now they were here on the human ship to see if humans were worth talking to. Captain Lisa Hayes walked into the room. She was in charge of the ship and this whole mission. Her job was to make friends with the Kalari, but it was not going well. The aliens did not think much of humans. "They think we're weak," Captain Hayes told Jake. "They keep calling us soft and fragile. They don't understand why their leaders even want to meet us." Jake looked at the biggest alien in the room. This was Thektar, their leader. He had scars on his armor-like skin that showed he had been in many fights. When Thektar looked at the humans, his eyes showed he was not impressed. "What do they want from us?" Jake asked. "They want to see what humans can do in a fight," Captain Hayes said. "They think fighting ability shows how good a species is. If we can't fight, they won't make any deals with us." Jake understood. Many warrior cultures were like this. They respected strength and looked down on weakness. If humans wanted to be friends with the Kalari, they had to prove they were not weak. "So what's the plan?" Jake asked. "You're going to show them how humans fight," Captain Hayes said. "You're our best combat instructor. If anyone can impress them, it's you." Jake felt nervous, but tried not to show it. He had fought many opponents, but never anyone like these aliens. They were bigger, stronger, and had twice as many arms as him. But he was a Marine, and Marines did not back down from challenges. The aliens were talking to each other in their own language. It sounded like clicking and hissing. The ship's computer translated their words into English for the humans to hear. "Look at how small they are," one alien said. "I could break one with just one arm. Their skin is so soft," said another. "How do they survive without armor?" "Maybe they hide and run when there is danger," said a third alien, making a sound that might have been laughter. Jake felt his face get hot with anger, but he kept quiet. Getting mad would not help. He needed to stay calm and think. Dr. Walsh had been studying the Kalari for months. She knew everything about how their bodies worked. "Their armor is strong," she told Jake quietly, "but they have weak spots. Their joints bend in ways that make them vulnerable. And having 4 arms might seem like an advantage, but it also means they have more parts that can be hurt." "Good to know," Jake said. He was already thinking about how to use this information. Thektar walked over to the humans. When he stood next to Jake, the difference in size was obvious. The alien's head was almost 2 feet above Jake's. "So this is your warrior?" Thektar asked Captain Hayes. His voice was deep and rough. "He looks like he would break if I touched him." "Looks can be deceiving," Captain Hayes said calmly. "We shall see," Thektar said. He turned to the other aliens. "Velshara, come here." Another alien stepped forward. This one was female, Jake guessed, though it was hard to tell with their species. She was just as tall as the others, but moved differently. Her movements were smooth and fast, like a trained fighter. Jake could see old battle scars on her armor-like skin. "Velshara is our best warrior," Thektar said with pride. "She has never lost a fight. She has defeated warriors from 12 different worlds. She will show you the difference between real fighters and whatever humans are." Velshara looked down at Jake. Her 4 eyes studied him like he was some kind of interesting bug. "I will try not to hurt him too badly," she said. The way she said it made it clear she thought the fight would be very easy for her. "This is supposed to be a demonstration," Captain Hayes said quickly. "Not a real fight." "Of course," Vectar said, but Jake could hear that he did not really mean it. "We just want to see how your species fights. Velshara will be ... gentle." Jake looked around the cargo bay. The ship's crew had moved all the equipment to the sides to make room. The floor was covered with soft mats for safety, but Jake wondered if that would be enough. "Are you ready, human?" Velshara asked. She was stretching her 4 arms, and Jake could see the muscles under her armor-like skin. Each of her arms was probably stronger than both of his. "Ready," Jake said. He tried to sound confident, but inside he was calculating his chances. This alien had never lost a fight. She was bigger, stronger, and had more arms. But she had also never fought a human before. Maybe that would be enough. The other aliens formed a circle around them. They were all watching with interest, waiting to see their champion easily defeat the small human. Some of them were making clicking sounds that Jake thought might be their version of laughter. Captain Hayes looked worried. Dr. Walsh looked scared. The whole future of human and Kalari relations might depend on what happened the next few minutes. Jake took a deep breath and got into his fighting stance. It was time to show these aliens what humans could do. Velshara moved slowly around Jake like a big cat playing with a mouse. Her 4 arms swayed as she walked, and Jake could see she was not taking him seriously. She thought this would be easy. "Show me what humans call fighting," she said. Her voice sounded bored, like she was asking him to show her a simple trick. Jake kept his hands up and moved carefully. He watched how she walked, how she held her arms, how she shifted her weight. Dr. Walsh had told him that the Kalari were used to fighting other Kalari. They had never fought humans before. That might give him a small advantage. The alien crowd was making clicking sounds. Jake realized they were talking about the fight, but the ship's computer was not translating everything. He caught a few words here and there. "Too small," one alien said. "This will be over quickly," said another. "I hope he does not break too easily," said a third. Captain Hayes stood at the edge of the circle. Her face was tense. Jake knew she was thinking about what would happen if he lost badly. The Kalari might decide humans were not worth their time. All the work to make this meeting happen would be wasted. Velshara suddenly moved forward. She was fast, but not as fast as she could be. Jake could tell she was holding back. She swung one of her upper arms at him, a slow punch that any trained fighter could avoid. Jake ducked under the punch and stepped to the side. The crowd of aliens made disappointed sounds. They had expected the human to be hit immediately. "Interesting," Velshara said. "You can move, but can you do more than just run away?" She tried again, this time using 2 arms at once. One came from above, the other from the side. Jake had to move quickly to avoid both punches. He rolled under her lower arm and came up behind her. For a moment, Jake was in position to attack her back, but he hesitated. This was supposed to be a demonstration, not a real fight. He did not want to hurt her and make the Kalari angry. That hesitation cost him. Velshara spun around faster than he expected. Her lower left arm caught him in the chest and sent him sliding across the mat. The hit was not full strength, but it still knocked the wind out of him. The aliens made excited clicking sounds. Finally, their champion had landed a hit. Jake got back to his feet, breathing hard. His chest hurt where she had hit him. If she had used full strength, that punch might have broken his ribs. "You are tougher than you look," Velshara said. She sounded a little surprised. Most creatures would still be on the ground after that hit. "Humans are good at taking hits," Jake said, trying to catch his breath. "We shall see," Velshara said. She was moving more seriously now, but still not at full speed. Jake could tell she was being careful not to hurt him too badly. They fought for several more minutes. Velshara would attack with one or two arms while keeping the others ready to defend. Jake dodged and blocked as best he could, but he was clearly outmatched. Every few attacks, one of her punches would get through his defense. The aliens were enjoying the show. They could see their champion was winning easily. Some of them started making betting sounds about how long the human would last. Jake was getting tired. Velshara was bigger and stronger, and she did not seem to be getting tired at all. Sweat was running down his face, and his arms were sore from blocking her punches, but he was also learning. Every exchange taught him something new about how she fought. The Kalari fighting style was powerful but predictable. They relied on their size and strength to win. They were not used to opponents who could think faster than they could punch. Dr. Walsh had been right about their weak spots. When Velshara used her upper arms to attack, her lower arms had to work harder to keep her balanced. When she used all four arms at once, her movements became clumsy. Jake started to change his strategy. Instead of just trying to avoid her attacks, he began to make her fight the way he wanted. He would move to positions that forced her to attack awkwardly. He would duck in directions that made her twist her body in uncomfortable ways. The aliens began to notice that something was different. Their champion was still winning, but the human was lasting longer than expected. He was making her work harder for each hit. "Why does he not fall down and stay down?" one alien asked. "Humans must be more durable than they look," said another. Vectar was watching more carefully now. His four eyes were focused on every move Jake made. The alien leader was starting to realize that this human was not as helpless as he had first appeared. Velshara was getting frustrated. She had expected to end this fight quickly, but the human kept getting back up. Every time she thought she had him beaten, he would find a way to avoid her finishing blow. "You fight strangely," she told Jake during a brief pause. "Most warriors try to show their strength. You seem to be hiding yours." "Maybe I am," Jake said. He was breathing hard, but he managed to smile. "Or maybe you have not seen my strength yet." Velshara's four eyes narrowed. For the first time since the fight began, she looked at Jake like he might actually be dangerous. "Enough games," she said. "Let me show you real Kalari fighting." She moved forward with more speed and power than before. Her four arms worked together like a machine built for fighting. Jake had to use every skill he had learned in 20 years of combat training just to stay alive. But he was ready. He had been studying her movements, learning her patterns, waiting for the right moment. And that moment was coming soon. Velshara came at Jake with all four arms moving at once. She was no longer holding back. Her punches were faster and harder than before. Jake had to move like his life depended on it. He rolled to the left as her upper right arm smashed into the floor where he had been standing. The metal floor dented from the impact. Jake realized that if that punch had hit him, it would have broken bones. The crowd of aliens was getting excited. They could see their champion was finally fighting seriously. The clicking sounds they made were louder now, like cheering at a sports game. Jake dodged another combination of punches. His body was getting tired, but his mind was sharp. He had been watching Velshara fight for almost 10 minutes now. He understood her patterns. More importantly, he understood her weaknesses. Velshara was confident. Too confident. She had never lost a fight, so she did not know what it felt like to be in real danger. That confidence was about to become her biggest problem. Jake waited for his moment. It came when Velshara decided to end the fight with what she thought would be a final move. She reached out with her upper two arms to grab him, planning to lift him up and throw him down. In her mind, this would show everyone how weak humans were. But Jake had been waiting for exactly this move. As her arms reached for him, Jake did not try to run away. Instead, he stepped closer to her. This surprised Velshara. No one had ever moved toward her when she was attacking. Jake grabbed her right upper arm with both of his hands. Velshara thought this was funny. What could one small human do against her strength? She began to pull her arm back, planning to drag Jake with it. That was her mistake. Instead of fighting against her pull, Jake went with it. He used her own strength against her. As she pulled back, he twisted his whole body and used the momentum to spin around her arm. Velshara suddenly found herself off balance. She tried to use her other arms to steady herself, but Jake was already moving. He had studied how Kalari joints worked. Dr. Walsh had shown him exactly where they were vulnerable. Jake planted his feet and used his legs to push up while still holding Velshara's arm. He twisted her arm at the elbow joint, applying pressure in a direction that Kalari anatomy was not designed to handle. For a split second, everything was quiet. Velshara's eyes went wide as she realized what was happening. The crowd of aliens stopped making noise. Even Captain Hayes held her breath. Then came the sound. Crack. The sound of Velshara's upper right arm breaking was like a gunshot in the quiet cargo bay. It echoed off the metal walls and seemed to go on forever. Velshara screamed. It was not a human scream, but a sound like metal being torn apart. She had never felt pain like this before. In all her fights, in all her victories, she had never been seriously hurt. She stumbled backward, holding her broken arm against her chest. Her other 3 arms were shaking. She stared at Jake like she was seeing a ghost. Jake stood where he was, breathing hard but steady. He looked calm, like breaking the arm of an 8-foot alien warrior was something he did every day. The cargo bay was completely silent. Every alien in the room was staring at Jake with wide eyes. They could not believe what they had just seen. Their unbeatable champion, the warrior who had never lost a fight, had just been defeated by a small human. Vectar was the first to speak. "Impossible," he said. His voice was quiet, like he was talking to himself. "This cannot be real." "Doctor." Walsh ran over to check on Velshara. Even though she was an alien, she was still a living being who was hurt. "I need to get her to the medical bay," she said. But Velshara did not want help from humans. She was too shocked and embarrassed. She had been beaten, and beaten badly, by someone she had thought was weak. "How?" she asked Jake. Her voice was full of pain and confusion. "How did you do this?" Jake wiped sweat from his face. "You were stronger than me," he said. "You were bigger than me. You had more arms than me. But you made one mistake." "What mistake?" Velshara asked. "You thought being stronger meant you would win," Jake said. "But fighting is not just about strength. It is about using your opponent's strength against them. You gave me all the power. I needed to break your arm. I just had to know how to use it." The aliens were talking to each other in their own language now. The ship's computer was having trouble translating because they were all talking at once. But Jake could hear the fear in their voices. Captain Hayes stepped forward. She looked as shocked as everyone else, but she was trying to stay professional. "Dr. Walsh, please take care of Velshara's injury. We need to make sure she gets proper medical treatment." Vectar was still staring at Jake. "You are not what you appear to be," he said slowly. "None of us are," Jake replied. "That is what makes humans dangerous. We do not look like much, but we find ways to win." Velshara was being helped toward the medical bay. As she passed Jake, she stopped and looked at him. "I underestimated you," she said. "I will not make that mistake again." "I hope you will not have to," Jake said. "I hope we can be friends instead of enemies." The crowd of aliens was still processing what they had seen. Their entire understanding of humans had just changed in a single moment. The small, soft creatures they had dismissed as weak had just proven they could be very dangerous. Captain Hayes looked at Jake and nodded. The demonstration was over, but Jake had a feeling the real test was just beginning. The medical bay on the horizon's edge was not designed for 8 foot Aliens with 4 arms. Dr. Walsh had to improvise as she worked on Velshara's broken arm. The alien warrior sat quietly on the medical table, but Jake could see she was still. In shock. "The bone is broken clean through," Dr. Walsh said as she looked at the scanner results. "But it should heal properly with the right treatment." Velshara nodded, but did not speak. She kept looking at her broken arm like she could not believe it was real. In the main cargo bay, the other Kalari were having heated discussions about what they had witnessed. Captain Hayes was trying to keep the situation calm. "This was an accident," she told Bektar. "We never intended for anyone to get hurt." But Bektar was not angry. He was confused and fascinated. "Your warrior defeated our champion," he said. "How is this possible?" "Velshara has beaten fighters twice her size. She has never even been knocked down before. Humans fight differently than other species," Captain Hayes explained. "We do not rely only on size and strength. We use strategy and technique." Jake was standing nearby, listening to the conversation. The other Kaluri warriors were staring at him like he was some kind of dangerous animal. Word of what happened was already spreading through their group. One of the younger Kalari approached Jake carefully. "I watched the fight," he said. "I still do not understand what you did. Can you explain it?" Jake thought for a moment. "Your people fight with power," he said. "You use your strength and size to win. But sometimes, the harder you push, the easier. It is for your opponent to redirect that force back at you." The young alien looked confused. "But you are so much smaller than us. How can you redirect our strength?" Jake picked up a metal rod from the medical equipment. "If I try to break this by pulling on both ends, it is very difficult," he said, demonstrating. "But if I put it across my knee and push down on one end, it breaks easily. Same force, different angle." The alien's 4 eyes widened as he understood. "You used Velshara's own strength to break her arm." "Exactly," Jake said. "She was pulling so hard that when I changed the angle, her own force did the damage." More Kalari gathered around to listen. They were asking questions about human fighting, techniques, human anatomy, and human training methods. Jake realized that their attitude toward humans was changing rapidly. Dr. Walsh finished putting a cast on Velshara's arm. The alien warrior looked at her broken limb and then at Jake. "I want to learn," she said suddenly. Everyone in the medical bay stopped what they were doing. "Learn what?" Dr. Walsh asked. "I want to learn how humans fight," Velshara said. She stood up, towering over Jake even with her injured arm. "You defeated me with technique I have never seen. I need to understand this." Vektar had followed the crowd into the medical bay. When he heard Velshara's request, his mouth opened in surprise. "Velshara, you are our greatest warrior. You cannot learn from these small creatures. These small creatures just broke my arm," Velshara said firmly. "If I am truly the greatest warrior, then I must learn from anyone who can teach me something new." Jake looked at Captain Hayes. This was not part of their original plan, but it might be an opportunity to build better relations with the Kaluri. "I could teach you some basic techniques," Jake offered. "But you would have to adapt them for your body type. You have 4 arms and different joints than humans." Velshara's eyes lit up with interest. "Yes, I want to learn. When can we start?" "Wait," Vektar said. "Our warrior caste has never learned from other species. This is not our way." "Then maybe our way needs to change," Velshara said. She looked around at the other Kalari. "How many fights have we won by being bigger and stronger?" "All of them." "But what happens when we meet someone who is smarter?" The cargo bay fell quiet as the aliens considered her words. They had dominated their part of space for centuries by overwhelming their enemies with superior force. But Jake had just shown them that force alone was not always enough. Captain Hayes saw her chance. "This could be the beginning of a cultural exchange," she said. We could share our combat techniques with you, and you could share your technology with us. What would humans want with our technology? Vectar asked. Your weapons are more advanced than ours, Captain Hayes admitted. Your armor is stronger. Your ships are faster. We could learn a lot from each other. Jake watched as the Kalari talked among themselves in their clicking language. He could not understand the words, but he could see they were having an intense debate. Finally, a very old Kalari stepped forward. Jake had not noticed him before, but the way the others moved aside showed he was important. I am Kethran, elder of the warrior caste, the old alien said. His voice was deep and gravelly. I have seen many battles in my long life. I have seen our warriors defeat enemies across 12 star systems. He walked slowly over to Jake, his forearms moving with the careful precision of great age. But I have never seen anything like what happened today, Kethran continued. You defeated our champion not with strength, but with wisdom. This is something new. He turned to address the other Kalari. Perhaps it is time for us to learn new ways of fighting. If these humans can teach us to be stronger, why should we refuse? Vectar looked uncertain. The High Council will not like this change. The High Council values victory above all else, Kethran said. If learning from humans makes us better warriors, they will approve. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What had started as a simple demonstration had turned into something much bigger. The Kalari were asking him to help change their entire fighting culture. I will need time to develop a training program, Jake said. Your anatomy is different from ours. The techniques will have to be modified. How long? Velshara asked eagerly. Jake looked at Dr. Walsh, who had been studying Kalari physiology for months. She nodded and said, Give us 2 weeks to prepare. Proper training materials. 2 weeks, Kethran agreed. We will wait. As the aliens filed out of the medical bay, Jake realized that breaking Velshara's arm had done more than win a fight. It had opened the door to a completely new relationship between humans and Kalari. 2 months later, Jake stood on the surface of Kalari Prime, watching alien warriors practice human fighting techniques. The sight still amazed him. Creatures that had once looked down on humans as weak were now eager to learn from them. The training facility was built into the side of a mountain. It was huge, with high ceilings to accommodate the tall Kalari. The walls were made of the same black stone as their armor-like skin. Everything was built to last forever. Velshara approached Jake with her usual confident walk. Her broken arm had healed completely, but she still wore a small scar from the medical procedure. She called it her wisdom mark and wore it with pride. The new students are ready for advanced training, she told Jake. They have mastered the basic redirections and leverage techniques. Jake nodded. In just 2 months, the Kalari had proven to be quick learners. Their 4 arms actually gave them advantages in some human techniques once they learned how to coordinate them properly. How many students do we have now? Jake asked. Over 300, Velshara said proudly. Word has spread to other warrior clans. They are sending their best fighters to learn from you. Jake looked out at the training floor. Kalari warriors were practicing in pairs, carefully working through the movements Jake had taught them. They were adapting human techniques to work with their longer reach and extra arms. Captain Hayes walked into the facility with Vectar beside her. The Kalari leader had become a strong supporter of the exchange program after seeing how much his warriors improved. The High Council has approved the expansion, Captain Hayes told Jake. They want to establish training facilities on 5 more Kalari worlds. Jake felt overwhelmed. I am just one person. I cannot teach warriors on 6 different planets. You will not be alone, Vectar said. We are training Kalari instructors. To teach your methods, Velshara will be the first. Velshara straightened with pride. I have learned much from studying how you defeated me. Now I can teach others the same lessons. The changes went beyond just fighting techniques. The Kalari had started questioning other aspects of their culture. If humans could teach them better ways to fight, maybe they could learn other things too. Dr. Walsh had been working with Kalari scientists to share medical knowledge. Human flexibility had helped her understand Kalari anatomy in new ways, while Kalari medical technology was helping treat human injuries more effectively. The cultural exchange is working better than we hoped, Captain Hayes said. Both species are learning from each other. Jake watched a young Kalari successfully perform a complicated throw on his much larger partner. The technique used the bigger alien's weight against him, just like Jake had done to Velshara. There is something else, Vectar said. The High Council wants to discuss a military alliance with your people. This was bigger news than Jake had expected. What kind of alliance? There are threats in this part of space, Vectar explained. The Zalani Empire has been expanding toward our territory. They have weapons we cannot match. But if we combine Kalari strength with human tactics, ... double quotes Jake, understood. The Kalari were powerful but predictable fighters. Their enemies had learned to counter their straightforward attacks. But human unpredictability could change the balance of power. The Zalani will not expect our warriors to fight like humans, Velshara added. It will give us a great advantage. A messenger ran into the training facility. He was breathing hard and looked excited. Elder Kethran requests your presence immediately, he told Jake. A ship has arrived from Earth. They hurried to the landing pad where a sleek human ship was touching down. Jake recognized it as a military transport. As the landing ramp lowered, a group of people in Earth Defense Force uniforms walked out. The leader was a woman with general stars on her uniform. She looked around at the assembled Kalari with interest rather than fear. Jake realized that news of the alliance had reached Earth. General Patricia Stone, she introduced herself to Jake. I came to see this training program that has everyone talking. It started as just a demonstration, Jake said. And now it has changed everything, General Stone replied. The Earth Defense Council wants to formalize the alliance. We are prepared to share our tactical databases and training programs with the Kalari. Vectar stepped forward. And we are prepared to share our technology and manufacturing capabilities with humanity. Jake realized he was witnessing history being made. What had started with a single broken arm was becoming a partnership that would reshape this entire region of space. Later that evening, there was a ceremony in the main hall of the Kalari capital. Warriors from dozens of clans had gathered to honor the new alliance. Jake found himself standing next to Velshara as speakers from both species talked about cooperation and mutual respect. Do you ever regret challenging me that day? Jake asked her quietly. Velshara touched the scar on her healed arm. That broken bone was the best thing that ever happened to me, she said. It taught me that there is always more to learn. The ceremony ended with a demonstration. Kalari and human fighters worked together, showing techniques that combined the best of both species. The crowd cheered as they watched moves that no one had ever seen before. 6 months later, news reached Earth that the Kalari-Human Alliance had defeated the Zalani Empire in a battle that military historians would study for generations. Victory was won not through superior strength, but through the combination of Kalari power and human ingenuity. Jake returned to Earth as a hero, but he never forgot the lesson of that first sparring match. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from being the strongest, but from being smart enough to use your opponent's strength against them. And sometimes, breaking someone's arm is the first step toward making them your closest ally.